The security camera above the hallway blinked quietly as it recorded another silent night in the building. The timestamp at the corner of the screen read 2:46 a.m. Apartment 1408 sat at the far end of the corridor, dark and empty. For 3 days, the apartment had remained vacant after the tenant moved out without explanation. The landlord had even changed the locks that morning. No one should have been inside. At exactly 2:47 a.m. the hallway camera flickered once. The corridor lights passed softly above the grey carpet. Then the door of apartment 1408 slowly creaked open. The door moved just a few inches at first. No hand appeared on the handle, yet the door kept opening wider. A tall figure stepped out from the darkness inside the apartment. The hallway light cast a long shadow across the floor. The figure paused as if adjusting to the light. Inside apartment 1406, Daniel Mercer shifted in his sleep. A faint noise from the hallway had slipped through the thin walls. His eyes opened slowly in the dark bedroom. He reached for his phone on the bedside table. The screen lit up with the time, 2:47 a.m. Daniel sat up and listened carefully. For a moment, everything was quiet again. Then he heard slow footsteps in the hallway. The steps were calm and measured, not hurried, not nervous, just someone walking quietly toward the elevator. Daniel frowned slightly. Normally, the hallway was silent at this hour, especially since apartment 1408 had been empty all week. Curiosity pulled him out of bed. He walked to the apartment door and looked through the peephole. The hallway lights glowed dimly above the carpet. At the far end of the corridor, the elevator door slid shut. The soft metallic sound echoed through the hall. Someone had just stepped inside. Daniel stepped back from the door. Something about the situation felt wrong. Apartment 1408 should have been empty. He unlocked his phone and opened the building security app. The residents had limited access to the hallway cameras. Daniel selected the camera for the 14th floor corridor. The recorded footage began playing on his screen. The timestamp showed the events from just moments earlier. Daniel dragged the timeline back to 2:47 a.m. The hallway appeared exactly as it had outside his door. The camera recorded the silent corridor for several seconds. Then apartment 1408 opened. Daniel leaned closer to the screen. A tall silhouette stepped into the hallway. The figure turned briefly toward the camera. The hallway light brightened automatically. The camera exposure adjusted. The face of the figure became visible. Daniel's breath stopped instantly. The man in the video looked exactly like him. Same height, same dark jacket, even the same short beard Daniel had trimmed that morning. Daniel replayed the footage again. His hands trembled slightly while holding the phone. The figure's face appeared clearly this time. It was his face. The figure in the video calmly walked toward the elevator. It never looked frightened or confused. It moved like it belonged there. Daniel felt a cold wave crawl across his chest. He slowly turned toward the apartment door. The hallway outside remained silent. His phone vibrated suddenly in his hand. A building notification appeared on the screen. Elevator access, floor 14. Daniel frowned at the message. The building only had 13 floors. There was no floor 14. Before he could think further, the elevator motor roared somewhere above the ceiling. The sound traveled down the shaft. The elevator was coming back up. Daniel stared at the door as the mechanical sound grew louder. The elevator stopped on his floor with a loud metallic click. The familiar ding echoed through the hallway. He slowly approached the door again. The hallway lights flickered once. The building suddenly felt colder than before. Daniel opened the door slightly and looked outside. The corridor stretched empty in both directions, but the elevator door stood open at the end of the hall. A faint yellow light glowed inside the elevator. Daniel stepped out into the hallway cautiously. The air smelled faintly like dust and metal. He walked toward the elevator slowly. Each step echoed softly against the carpeted floor. Something about the open doors felt strangely inviting. Inside the elevator, the control panel glowed quietly. Daniel glanced at the buttons. One number shone brighter than the others. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. That button had never existed before, yet the elevator seemed to be waiting for someone to press it. Before he could step inside, the mirror at the back of the elevator caught his attention. The reflection showed Daniel standing in the hallway, but something in the reflection moved differently. In the mirror, another version of Daniel stood inside the elevator behind him. The reflected man looked calm and expressionless, and he was smiling. Daniel spun around immediately. The elevator interior was empty. Only the buzzing light above remained. When he looked back into the mirror again, the reflection showed only himself. The other figure had disappeared. The elevator doors suddenly slammed shut. The elevator motor roared as it began rising upward. Daniel stepped back quickly as the door sealed. The floor indicator climbed past 13. Then it changed to 14. A heavy vibration echoed through the elevator shaft. The car stopped somewhere above the building. The hallway lights flickered violently. Daniel rushed back toward his apartment. Something about the building suddenly felt wrong, almost like the structure itself had changed. He slammed his apartment door shut behind him and locked it. His breathing felt uneven and shallow. The security app was still open on his phone. The hallway camera feed switched automatically to live mode. Daniel stared at the screen. The elevator doors opened slowly. A man stepped out calmly. The camera angle captured his face perfectly. It was the same duplicate Daniel had seen earlier. The figure walked toward apartment 1406, toward Daniel's door. Outside in the hallway, slow footsteps echoed across the carpet. Daniel backed away from the door. His heart pounded loudly in his chest. The handle of the door began turning slowly. A familiar voice spoke softly from the other side. "Daniel, you left something on the 14th floor."